All right, everybody, this is Matthew. I apologize for the slight delay. Looks like we were having a little bit of trouble getting signed on. This is actually the latest cutting edge technology. It's through Google Hangouts called Webinar Jam. It's pretty exciting stuff, but as you guys know, technology always comes with its fair share of glitches. This class tonight, though, is called How to Own Rental Properties with No Mortgages. And we do this by dominating the banks. So I'm looking forward to the class. Hopefully everybody is ready to dive right in. Now, before we do, I want to give special thanks to Laughlin. Laughlin has been a phenomenal partnership with us over the last few years. They work with a number of our members and really will be instrumental in your ability to succeed using what we teach here today. I also want to give special thanks to our military personnel. For those of you who have served in the military, obviously it's this week that we recognize you the most, but certainly your services are greatly appreciated every single day of the year, and it really gives all of us the reason and right to be here tonight together. So thank you so much for everything you do. Now, the objectives of tonight's training, which we're going to try and get through within an hour, is first to give you a little background on VIP financial education. We're then going to transition our attention to how to actually get something from this training. Obviously, we all sit through a number of different courses in our lifetime, and for many of us, it's in one ear and out the other. So benefiting from this information should be your sole purpose for being here. Otherwise, it's just a waste of our time. Thirdly, we want to really start to open your eyes to 3 specific steps that we've been using to dominate credit for both businesses and real estate. So we have a number of very successful companies. We also have a successful real estate investment portfolio. We've been using the techniques that we're going to teach you here tonight for almost a dozen years, and it has been an overall game changer. It's changed how we look at money and banks forever, and I hope to have the same impact on you here this evening. Finally, we're going to show you how you can save over $100,000 on every rental property that you buy and own these real estate properties without mortgages. Now, we've limited attendance in tonight's class, so if you're unable to make it on, if you get disconnected and can't get back in because it's full, we'll do our best to send out a replay to you. But just do your best to hang in there. If it's blurry, if you're having a hard time hearing, these are obstacles that we have to overcome with the technology. So just bear with me. I'm going to give you all the resources you need to succeed with this information at no charge. Now, a little bit about VIP for those of you who are unfamiliar with our company. We were founded in 2000. And today we teach tens of thousands of people every single month. We've become the leading cash flow, debt, and credit experts across the country. And we've now taught in over 25 countries. We actually started accepting a limited international clientele as of this year. We have countless reviews of people who are successfully practicing the techniques and philosophies that we teach. You can just do a general Google search to learn about us. You can also visit aboutvipfinancialeducation.com. But we're going to help everybody here today jumpstart for free. We do that through first providing your very own copy of a cash flow cruncher spreadsheet. This is a gift from us to you. You'll learn how to get this by the end of the training. So just make sure you stay until the end so that you can get access to this great tool. It offers formulas and gives you an opportunity to quantify things that you wouldn't ever get from any other spreadsheets that we've seen before. As I'd mentioned earlier, aboutvipfinancialeducation.com is a great resource for you to learn a little bit more about us. We've been building our trainings now for a long time for many organizations of all sizes. But that also includes the police department. If you visit that website, you'll see a great review from Jim May, the chief of police, who is successfully utilizing what you're about to learn tonight. We also have a Better Business Bureau rating of A+, which we're very proud of. You can find that under VIP Enterprises LLC here in Denver, Colorado. And here's one final review I'd like to share with you. This is from the program director that's been offering the VIP debt-free education to the employees of NASA. We actually share this at Johnson and Kennedy Space Centers. We've received wonderful feedback and plan to increase the availability of the curriculum. In one word, awesome. I would strongly recommend this information to anyone. That's from Karen Myers. Doesn't get a whole lot better than testimonials from NASA. So let's move forward. How do you actually benefit from this training? Well, number one, your undivided attention is needed. Webinars can be tricky because we are faced with a lot of distractions. So try to stay off of your phone unless you're using it to watch this presentation. Otherwise, clear yourself from noises and other projects and tasks and just focus on what I'm going to teach you. I promise you, you've never seen anything like this before. And it's not easy to wrap your mind around. So make sure you write your notes down and your questions. I'm not going to be answering questions in our chat feature here tonight. I just don't have time for it. I've actually got an appointment following tonight's training. So write your questions down, because every Laughlin guest attending this class will receive a second part to this training that's completely customized to you. The way that you get that is by visiting freecoachingcalendar.com. Write that website down right now. And throughout the training, the moment that you see enough value in what we're discussing, I encourage you to go to this website and schedule a complimentary 90-minute coaching session. This is what we call an implementation session. This is a no sales, no pressure type of call. We're going to show you how to take what you learned tonight and apply it to your personal circumstances and show you the real power behind this 3-step process. It is first come, first serve. We generally have a 4 to 8 week waiting list. I recently just got off the road from 4 presentations in 5 different states over the last 10 days. So if you find a spot, you're going to want to take it. The first 10 from tonight's class will get their free coaching session with me directly. So there is urgency behind this. We have had technology issues with the scheduling tool as well. Write this phone number down also. The phone number is 866-969-2738. That's 866-969-2738. That's a toll-free number. In the event that you can't schedule online due to a technology glitch, please call and leave a voicemail for us, and we will place people in the order they came in. First 10 will get on my schedule. Everyone else will still get a complimentary coaching session with one of my experts. They've all been with me for at least 6 years. So have no fear. You're going to get a terrific session no matter what. But everyone should be taking advantage of that. There are a few qualifiers. And that first qualifier, by the way, before we get too far ahead, is a $500 average positive cash flow position overall. So you take all the money that you earn from all your sources of revenue, you subtract all of your expenses, and the number that's left over needs to average at least $500 per month. Doesn't have to be every month, but throughout the year, you need to be averaging at least $6,000 in positive cash flow in order to benefit from these 3 steps. Otherwise, just watch the class. You can get your free coaching session down the road. We'll honor it later. But you have to have that cash flow to benefit. Okay. So let's dive into the 3 steps to succeed and dominate the banks. The first step is to optimize both personal credit, which is known as FICO, created by Fair Isaac Company, and business credit. We're going to talk about that. We're then going to focus our attention on leveraging this credit in order to access DWs. Now, DWs is an acronym for debt weapons. I'm going to show you about debt weapons, teach you how you can use these to explode your assets, but simultaneously, we're going to show you how to rapidly eliminate liabilities. When you do that, you're actually concentrating on both sides of the balance sheet at the same time versus neglecting one, which is what most people conventionally do. We also want to give you as many reserves stockpiled as possible for emergencies. So this is what we're going to utilize the debt weapons to rapidly accelerate. And we do that by creating and using 3 techniques. The first technique is called lump sum payments. Lump sum payments. Write these down. The second is known as paycheck parking. And the third is called cash flow stacking. Now, I'm going to show you the power behind these techniques because really, if we strip away the fancy terminology, it just boils down to arithmetic. And one thing I've always respected about math is that it's void of opinion. It doesn't matter what my personal feelings are about the sum of 2 and 2 being 4. It just is. So one of the things that you'll probably come to appreciate as well is that this is all a mathematically based system. Has nothing to do with speculation. Next, we're going to dive into the first step here, which is optimization of both personal and business credit. As far as your personal credit is concerned, you have personal credit scores established. You should, unless you've been very inactive. And these scores are imperative to your success. Now, our background started in credit. Over a dozen years ago, we made the most significant investment that we ever had at that time into a mentorship relationship with pioneers of the personal and business credit industries. It started with John Olsheimer, who is one of the original creators of the Fair Isaac FICO credit score. And having apprenticed under him, I became the youngest certified personal credit scoring expert in the country. And by the age of 25, I was traveling the country. I was getting a lot of media attention. We were doing multiple radio appearances every week, multiple television appearances every month. And, it was fascinating to see how much people were drawn to the topic of personal and business credit. But the most remarkable thing that came from that experience was then seeing and uncovering in 2005 the magic that I'm going to reveal to you here tonight. And we had never seen it before that time. And we were in the financial industry. So as far as credit is concerned, we know more about personal credit scoring than any average person, which is encouraging because the target score that we want to continue to work toward in order to benefit from what I'm teaching is a 760 and better. If you don't have at least a 760 and up, then you have work to do and you're costing yourself money somewhere in your life, whether it be in interest rates or insurance premiums. But the minimum that we're going to need in order to benefit from the second and third steps in this process is a 700 and better. Now, if you don't yet have a 700, do not worry. It does not disqualify you from your free coaching session. If anything, you should have a greater level of motivation to get that free coaching session so that we can actually start talking about personal credit scoring maximization solutions that are upwards of 3 times more effective than credit repair. Okay. So again, freecoachingcalendar.com is where you're going to schedule your complimentary 90-minute session as soon as you hear something from me that you feel is going to be beneficial for you. About 12 years ago, once we became known as authorities on the subject of credit, we created the 760 Club, which again was known as the most advanced credit education and enhancement system there is and is still known as that today. It was created by the founders of the industries. So you know that it's the most relevant cutting edge information. Now, talking about maximizing credit scores is important for 2 very big reasons. The first is it will reduce your expenses substantially. Everybody already knows that. That's common sense, again, through interest rates and insurance premiums. But furthermore, and even more importantly, in my opinion, is that it will help you access tons of capital. Tons of capital. Now, personal credit scores break down as follows. FICO will range from 300 to 850. And there are 5 main components to the score, starting with your payment history. Now, for most of us, this was the full extent of what we learned about credit in schools. The school system has absolutely failed us when it comes to providing a formal financial education. When you think back to your years in school, I know for a fact you didn't learn what you needed to about the day-to-day management of your money in order to optimize cash flow and prevent unnecessary cost. And credit was a big piece of that. My parents taught me to get great credit, you must pay your bills on time. Well, sure, but that's only worth 1/3 of my score. The other 65% was never taught. I was either learning it the hard way or never knew it. So we have to focus on all 5 of these components in order to optimize scores at all times. And the one great piece of news here is that you have substantially more control over your credit scores than you might have thought. So we'll talk more in detail about that during your free coaching session, depending on where your credit scores are today. As far as business credit scores are concerned, the credit scoring formula is totally different. It ranges from 0 to 100. And business credit is based on only one factor. How have you paid your business bills over the last 12 months? These are business bills that are actually reporting to the agencies. Now, if you pay the business bills that do report to the agencies as agreed or early, then you'll instantly establish an excellent score of 80 or higher. And here are those 3 business credit reporting agencies: Experian Business, Dun & Bradstreet, which is known as your Paydex, And then Equifax Business. Equifax and Experian should look familiar, as they also are agencies that provide credit reporting for personal credit. But Dun & Bradstreet is known notoriously as a business credit reporting agency. Now, there is something even more important than the scores. I've actually learned in the last 15 years that my business credit score is basically worthless. My personal credit score, however, is very, very important. So what is even more important than the score when it comes to business capital, getting access to tons of credit? Number one, you need to have an entity that's registered for at least 2 years. Guys, what I'm telling you right now could easily be worth over 7 figures to you, like it has been to me. So I strongly encourage your undivided attention right now. Take as many notes as you can, write your questions down, and then schedule your free coaching session as soon as you see the value to do so. You need to have an entity registered for at least 2 years to benefit from business debt weapons. In the meantime, we focus on personal debt weapons. Secondly, the name selection of your business is very important. The real estate related industry has often been discriminated against, I would say, for lack of a better description. But depending on economic conditions, depending on how the real estate market is performing, banks will often pick on real estate investors by declining applications for various loans. So when you apply for a loan using a business name like Matt Pillmore Real Estate LLC, that might actually restrict the availability of great debt weapons, credit, capital accounts, however you want to describe them, versus me saying something like Matt Pillmore Enterprises LLC, which is a far more ambiguous name. I could be a marketing company, I could be a consulting company, or I could be in real estate. Frankly, if I'm in real estate, I'm also in marketing and I'm also in consulting. So I'm able to cater my application according to what the bank wants to see. And that's really the name of this process here. The name of this game is showing the bank what it wants to see, becoming the image, creating the profile the bank is looking for in order to get access to phenomenal tools that are going to be worth not tens, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in some cases, even 7 figures, like it has been for us. You need to have a separate business phone number. Now, Laughlin Associates can help with some of this. They can set up the right entity for you, and they can also help establish a separate business address for you. When it comes to the business phone number, you can use something like a voice over IP phone number, something like Google Voice, for instance. You just have to, again, envision the image that you believe the banks are looking for. If I'm a bank considering lending you money, do you think that I am convinced that you're a successful business if your business phone number is the same as your mobile phone number? Probably not. Most serious businesses have a separate number and separate address. A PO box is not good enough for a separate address. Laughlin Associates has this really amazing benefit where you, for a very small monthly fee, can utilize their brick and mortar office, and they will forward you the mail that you receive there. They'll also reception, take phone calls. Anyone that comes in looking for you, they'll redirect. So they can create that image with and for you for a very, very inexpensive price point. For less than $100 a month, we're successfully able to keep a separate business address and separate business phone number that we've had for 15 years. We've had, in the meantime, a number of brick and mortar offices that have come and gone. So it's great that I have this virtual office space that prevents me from having to go in, change all of my billing addresses on my credit cards, change all of my business related mail. And so it's a way of simplifying as well as increasing your lender worthiness. Now, finally, you need to have a business brand. If I'm a bank and I'm considering lending you a great tool in order to advance you, I'm going to take your business seriously if you have a website and or social media. I think you need to have both. And because of the day and age we live in, this is incredibly easy and inexpensive, if not free, for you to get. So there really are no excuses to not have a website, social media presence, and you can easily outsource this. One website that we've outsourced a ton of work to on this miscellaneous administrative online branding is Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. That is one of the single most valuable resources that I've used in the last 2 years. And we've literally used it for at least 300 various projects. It's things people are willing to do for you around the world for $5. Okay. Starting at $5. Now, let's talk about beating the banks, because it becomes about the invisible guarantee. Why am I even telling you about business credit? What does that have to do with owning real estate without mortgages or getting access to new capital accounts under your personal name? Well, first of all, the invisible guarantee is one of the most powerful things that I uncovered back in around 2004. And it's where under your business name, when you apply for and get access to these revolving credit accounts, they don't show up on your personal credit reports. Now, I want to be very, very clear in that your personal guarantee is required in order to qualify for any lending. Expect a personal guarantee. However, if you don't default, as long as you pay on time, anytime you utilize the account, it will be hidden from view. Now, the very first business capital account that I ever acquired was a $50,000 revolving account, meaning unless I used it, it was not debt. As I draw against this, I can use all $50,000 of this account with zero impact to my personal credit scores and zero impact negatively to my debt to income ratios. Think about that for a minute. That means I can go out and apply for new credit, new mortgages, and they won't even see the fact that I've used this money. I can use this for down payments. I can use it for fix-up costs on properties. I can use it in my other businesses for marketing, for staffing, for emergencies. Guys, this is literally that one tool has made us over 7 figures. That one tool. So let's talk a little bit about leveraging into these debt weapons, the second step of this process. So what the heck are debt weapons anyway? Well, these are both personal and business capital accounts that put your money to work for you nearly every single day of the year. And what it does is it allows investors as well as business owners of any kind to rapidly improve, number one, cash flow, which, by the way, if you think about it, cash flow is the single most important financial number to your ability to create freedom of choice. And I define financial freedom as having the ability to choose how I spend my time. Cash flow gives you that freedom. Without cash flow, your choices are severely restricted. The second benefit is the acquisition pace of assets. Whether you want to get real estate or you want to invest somewhere else, growing your asset portfolio is mandatory if retirement is going to be possible for you. You can't retire without assets. So being able to accelerate the pace with which you acquire is very important. Thirdly, safety in the event of emergencies. If you had an emergency and you did not have a slush fund, what would then be your exit strategy? Bankruptcy? So we need as much money as possible so that we're able to keep ourselves safe when things don't go our way. Fourth, your debt to income ratios. Again, lendability, ongoing credit worthiness, ongoing identity at the banks is what we're after here. And debt to income ratios will significantly improve when you practice what I teach correctly with the utilization of debt weapons. Fifth, your total debt load and interest costs is significantly improved when you mathematically apply what I'm going to show you. So nobody I know has an intention of entering into their retirement years with debt. Yet very few people are doing anything about it. In fact, according to the National Association of Realtors, people will refinance or sell and get a new mortgage every 3 to 7 years. And we end up stuck in an all interest portion of the amortization schedule. I could ask 1,000 people in a row if they think the banks are building their rules to benefit us. And the most common reaction I get is people laugh. That's how absurd that question is. I could ask another question. If the banks get their way, how long will you remain in debt? And 1,000 out of 1,000 people will give me the same answer. So we know better. We know that the system is built for us to fail. What I'm going to show you is something totally different that, as long as you're committed to changing behavior very easily, it does not require much time. As long as you can follow instructions, we will show you how to change your behavior for the rest of your life in order to be on a much faster, less expensive path. Now, the one warning I want to give you is this, that you need to limit your access to debt weapons if you are incapable of fiscal responsibility. So if you struggle to manage your money well, then the rest of what I have to say does not apply to you. The first person I would start with if you're in that position is Dave Ramsey. He's terrific for Finance 101. What I'm going to show you is the 202 version of how to be banking. So you want to have a solid cash flow position. You want to have a history of doing well with credit, even if you have some bumps and bruises that we need to work through. You, in general, want to be following society's definition of fiscal responsibility in order to benefit from this. Now, with fiscal responsibility, our plan will include a goal of between $25,000 up to $250,000 of new liquid funds every single year. So every year, we want to add another $25,000 to $250,000 of new capital accounts to your inventory, to your collection. We're never done adding more. Now, for a lot of people, this is an expansion of one's comfort zone. As a society, we are undereducated, which means we've been undereducated to believe that limiting access to capital is the right decision. Why? Because there's a misassociation between credit and debt. Credit is not debt until it's used. We're only using these accounts to accomplish three specific goals: growth of assets, elimination of liabilities, and stockpiling of emergency funds. So at no point are we ever squandering this money irresponsibly. We're using it strategically to benefit or better our financial profiles. There is no such thing as having access to too much money. However, there are 4 questions that we need to answer accurately before each and every capital account is applied for. The first is, what are we going to use it for? If it's to grow assets, we get a different account than if we want to eliminate liabilities, than if we want to stockpile emergency reserves. Every purpose we have financially, specifically within each one of those categories, will have a different type of debt weapon associated with it, which is how we then answer the second and third questions, which are, which one is best for my purpose and where do I get it from? Who's offering it? What lender is providing access to this tool? The fourth and final question that you need to answer in order to get access to these accounts is, when do we apply? The timing on this is critical. Why? Because of the relationship between credit and every application we submit. Anytime we submit an application for a new debt weapon, 95% of the time, it's going to harm your credit. So we can't be recklessly applying for absolutely every account that somebody promises us, or you're going to cause yourself irreversible injury that takes years to recover from. So timing is going to be everything. This normally means that we're restricting our frequency of acquiring these accounts to between 2 to 8 new accounts per year. And this is something that we will guide you through. So make sure, again, that you schedule your free coaching session at freecoachingcalendar.com as soon as you can. The first 10 will get their call with me. Now I want to start to change how you think about interest rates. This is the cheat that allowed me to go from being average to accomplishing extraordinary results, things that people around me only dream of achieving. It's because I no longer look at interest rates as one of the single most important factors to borrowing. I look at interest rates as interesting. Now, why is it that we all look at interest rates as if it's supreme? Well, it's because, again, you've learned from your parents and the banks. You haven't received an education other than that. And if you really thought about who taught you that interest rates are as important as you think they are, the answer that you would probably come up with is the banks. So if the bank wants you to think that the rates are as important as you do, it's a good time to second guess whether or not that's really in your own best interests. The bank's rules are designed to benefit the banks. Let's not forget. My personal philosophy is that you don't care about rates at all. What you actually care about are interest costs, the dollars and cents. Who cares what the rate is? When's the last time you went back to your loan closing paperwork on the mortgage you have for just your primary home? Forget about rental properties for a minute, and looked at the truth in lending statement that was associated with that closing. Chances are, based on the way the interest rates have gone over the last 15 years, you are benefiting from a historic low interest rate. I don't care whether you have 3% or whether you have 6%. These interest rates are better than they have ever been before. And yet, if you go to your truth in lending statement, you will see that you are tacking on, in most cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest costs over the course of that 360-month loan. Do you not care about that money? Of course you do. Listen, this is why when you leave the closing table, it's so easy for us to suppress that document, because we don't like to think about the hundreds of thousands we're going to spend. We'd rather walk around bragging about the fact that we have a 4% rate. So I'm going to encourage you to start thinking about this differently. Now, when you do, we're going to start to utilize these debt weapons. And I want to show you the lump sum payment, paycheck parking, and cash flow stacking process now. This will allow you to not only buy far more real estate, but also pay far less for that real estate. And guess what? Even better news here, folks. Chances are, if you're on this call, because of your relationship with Laughlin, you're likely a business owner, which means that you can use these same techniques in any business, not just real estate. Let's start with real estate, though, since that's the purpose of tonight's call. Now, this is Dan and Megan Albright's story. I met Megan at a real estate conference that I had the privilege of teaching just north of Denver, Colorado. Dan was not there at that specific lecture. And Megan approached me after the class. I love sharing this story because almost everybody in the classroom can benefit from this, at least in some way. Okay. So this is not you. They are not you, and you are not them. So your story will be totally different than theirs. But I just want to show you the potential of somebody that I think was starting in a very below average position. And we're going to go from there. Now, give me 1 second here. I just want to take a quick look at okay, good. So Dan and Megan, thought that they had dug themselves a hole that they would never get out of. And when Megan approached me, I saw the emotional impact that her money was having on her. And I know that you would agree that money is emotional. Your money's emotional to you, mine is to me, but yours is not emotional to me. And I saw the posture and facial expression, and it looked as if Megan was going to burst into tears at any point. And I want to share their story with you, but I'm going to start this 3 years after we first met them. Okay. And this is when they acquired their first home. When they bought this house, it was their primary residence. When we first met them, they were renters. We normally do not work with renters today unless you're ready to buy a property within the first 12 months of working together. But back then we did. And 3 years after we met them, they buy their first primary residence, and they get a $290,000 loan at a 5.2% interest rate, which meant a $283,271 total interest cost. Now, take a look at this slide for me for a minute. This is known as a truth in lending statement. Okay. Now, Megan got this loan for $290,000 at 5.2%, and look at the total cost over 360 months. Almost $600,000, well over $500,000 for the price tag of this home now that may not ever be worth that amount. It's going to require some serious appreciation before it is. This is at a 5.2% rate, folks. This is absolutely ridiculous. If you subscribe to paying your monthly mortgage payment every month when the bill comes, the way the bank has asked you to, you are being victimized. There are roughly half a dozen ways of doing this in a better manner. I'm going to show you the one that is my favorite, but there are a number of ways that we might end up utilizing with you depending on your personality and individual circumstances. There are a number of variables involved, but this happens to be my favorite approach. Okay. Now you can see 3 years after we met Dan and Megan, their debt weapon status at this point had grown from a modest $9,000 or $10,000 of availability that was almost all utilized to $78,500 in total reserves. And all of these had been paid off. Now, 3 years after we met them, they were paid off. When we first met Dan and Megan, they had almost $50,000 in non-mortgage related balances. That was 2 automobiles, one for about 20 grand, the other one for about 15,000. And the other $15,000 approximately was on credit cards. You can actually see that example on a website that I'll give you by the end. Okay. So I'll give you that example of how we got rid of all of that debt in less than 3 years. I asked audiences for years and years how long they thought it would take Dan and Megan to pay off $50,000 with a starting cash flow position of $390 total. That's after all income and all expenses. And not one hand goes in the air that they'll pay it off in under 10 years. And yet they did it in under 3. So that was the magic of what I'm going to show you next, that they now are going to apply on this brand new mortgage. They're just going to carry over the same steps. When Dan and Megan get paid, they net an average of $5,950. Now, this number varies, and it probably varies for you if you're self-employed. So you have to take averages. Dan is self-employed, Megan is W-2'd, okay? So this number is never consistent, but because of that reason, we're always, always, always taking an average on the cash flow cruncher spreadsheet. And I'll show you that spreadsheet here in a moment. At this time, they had a $1,600 mortgage payment here for this new mortgage. They also had a total of $2,325 on average in living expenses every month. These are the costs to survive. This is your utilities, your cell phone, your automobile expenses, your meals and entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. They take that $5,950 and subtract it by the $3,925 to generate what we define as cash flow, the difference between what we earn and what we spend. Now, this number comes in only 2 forms, either positive or negative. If you have a negative cash flow position, it means that on average, you're spending more than what you earn. It's a very dangerous place to be. So the very first thing that needs to happen is positive cash flow. That's when you can initiate the first step in this 3-step process and optimize credit. Until then, you really are on standby. So you've got to have at least $500 in positive cash flow. When we first met Dan and Megan, they were only at $390. So that was another rule that's changed since we met them in order to work with them. Okay. But over that period of the first 3 years, we were able to grow their net cash flow up to 2025 or 2033. Really, we're just rounding it down to be conservative. But bottom line is this 2025 was without making any more money. So with the same income they were earning before. It's also without spending any less on living expenses. So lifestyle stayed the same. This is not about going on a budget. One of the most popular things about this plan is that we're not here to restrict you on things you enjoy doing that you're already paying money for. As long as you have positive cash flow, we want to make sure you end up with more money to enjoy lifestyle with. And that's where we're going to get the money from the bank. We're going to prevent interest and allow you to keep that money for yourself. Okay. So this was their profile when we first met them. In fact, let me show you their cash flow cruncher briefly so that you can generate a little better understanding of what that looks like. Give me a second here. Okay, so you guys should see this on your screen at this point. This is known as the cash flow cruncher spreadsheet. Everybody will get a copy of this just for attending today's presentation. As long as you make it to the end, this will be a gift from us to you. When you schedule your free coaching session, this will be attached to an immediate confirmation email that you will receive. If you don't see it, go to your spam filter and check there. But it will have the cash flow cruncher and instructions on how to fill it out on that page. Now, this is very easy to complete. It may look overwhelming. It's not at all. This page is non-editable. Okay, I cannot edit this page. All of these other pages is where the data is input, and then it is imported to the summary page for you. So you can see where they've put their general income. You can see where they've put their new credit scores after 3 years. Their credit was actually in the mid 600s when we first met them. So there was terrific improvement on credit. You can see they didn't put anything in here for any of their cash or investment assets. Nothing in there is necessary. You can see where their mortgages would be input. So depending on how many mortgages you have, you're going to put them all in here. You can see where their lines of credit have been established over the next period of time. We're going to continue to grow those over time. You can see from 2011 to 2013, they had 70,000. 2014, $50,000. Some of them didn't report even to credit. And 2015, this year, even more, $100,000 of access that they didn't have before, some of which doesn't even report to credit. You can see their credit cards here with 0 balances. And we're going to focus on the loan calculator here, which is a $290,000 loan size at 5.2% over 30 years, opened First payment being March 1st of 2013. They closed in January of 2013. So let's go back now to the slides, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do on this spreadsheet here. Bear with me while I figure this thing out. All right, so you should be able to see that slide now. Let me just make sure I can see what you're seeing. Okay, great. So we've got this, whoops. Bear with me. Looks like our screen sharing is not being friendly here. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Just trying to get this thing to work for us here. Okay, so you should be able to see that slide again now. All right, so we're going to calculate what's known as the maximum lump sum. Okay, you remember me talking about lump sum payments. We want to calculate the MLS, the maximum that we can draw against the debt weapons in order to eliminate the debt. This is where we turn the banks against each other. Okay, they're going to be battling it out. And in the end, you save lots and lots of money in interest. Your MLS will be calculated for you. We're going to talk about that during your free coaching session. So again, make sure you get on the calendar. In this example, the total was $20,000 that Dan and Megan were going to safely borrow from these debt weapons in order to apply towards their new balance of this mortgage. Now, when they apply $20,000 from this account to attack this balance, this new balance becomes roughly $270,000. But this balance increases from 0 to $20,000. So they collectively have the same amount of debt that they had when we first started in the example. Now, what are we going to do differently? Well, when Dan and Megan get paid this $5,950 in net take-home income on average each month, that money is typically parked in the bank where it sits idly or unemployed. Think about your checking and savings accounts for a moment. What benefits are they serving for you? Well, they're convenient. They have liquidity. They're supposed to be safe. Who really knows? But from a monetary value standpoint, other than the face value of every dollar that you have in that account, it is worthless to you. The only person that that money is working for is the bank. So don't be fooled. Your money can be employed as much as 100% of the time. Instead of parking our income, your paychecks, into your checking and savings accounts like you normally do, we're now going to paycheck park those against the $20,000 debt weapon in this example. And for 20 to 28 days, that money sits in that debt weapon. Now, during this period of time, as expenses come due, we use a credit card account to pay for all of those expenses. When the bill comes for the credit card, we pay it in full before it's due. Now, when you pay your credit cards in full before they're due, how much interest do you pay? Nothing. Even if it's a 30% interest rate that's associated with your credit card. The only way you pay interest is if you revolve a balance past the due date. So for 20 to 28 days, your money is staying parked against this debt weapon. And during that time, it's accomplishing several significant benefits. The first is it's going to maximize your cash flow. Next, you're going to reduce compound interest. There's a reason that it was said that Albert Einstein considered compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. It is horrible for you. It's actually recalculated every day, meaning you pay interest today on yesterday's interest. It is ingenious for the banks. It also will compress your amortization and maximize your credit scores. And by the end of the month, we pay all bills before they're due using the debt weapon. And we repeat this process every month. Watch what happens in the example. They take the $5,950 that they would normally park in the bank, and we pass it through and make large payments against this balance, reducing this balance from $20,000 to roughly $14,050. So this $20,000 balance goes down to 14 and the availability goes up to 11. You can see that it goes up from 5,000 to 11,000. So the money's still sitting there ready to be used. It's a completely liquid account that we've set them up with. Okay. So this 14,000 is the balance at the end of the first month before they pay their bills. Now they're going to have to pay their bills. In month one, they have $2,325 on average in living expenses, but this counts everything from, automobile registration averages to automobile repair averages. Those things don't happen every single month. It happens periodically. So their cash flow in general is much better than this average reflects, but periodically they have bigger expenses that bring the whole average down. Now, why don't they have a mortgage payment in month number one? Well, they did, but they've already given $20,000. So the only payments they have are on these living expenses. And every time they paycheck park throughout the month, it counts as monthly payments against that account. So they don't have additional payments on the 20,000. And by the end of the first month, that new balance has increased to about 16.4 thousand. You can see here. Now in month number 2, they paycheck park again, drops the balance down to around 10,425. You can see that the availability has increased now to 14,500. They now pay both sets of expenses, the mortgage and all living costs, $39.25, because this one $20,000 lump sum only counts as 1 month's payment with the extra principal. And by the end of the second month, their new balance is roughly $14,350. Now, it's very easy for me to expedite the rest of this example because every month the cash flow is going to be parked against this balance, which means I can just divide the cash flow into this starting balance to determine how many months more it will take before this original $20,000 cycle is paid back to zero. And in this case, it's 7.1 months. Let's go ahead and add in month 1 and month 2 that we walked through together in order to account for those as well, which brings the balance to 9.1. And then we're also going to account for the interest costs that are associated with this $20,000 debt weapon. These debt weapons have interest as well. But even under a worst case conservative number, we're paying significantly less interest on this debt weapon than we do on this debt that has a lower interest rate. This is where I got hung up. It's not about having the best interest rate. If I offered you the choice between 2 loans of equal size, but the first loan had a 5% rate and the second had a 15% rate, I know that 100% of you would take the 5% loan. But what if I told you that the 15% loan was paid off in 5 months and the 5% loan was paid off in 360 months? Now, which one do you want? Listen, we know better. We know that it's not just the rate that matters, that the term is of equal, if not even greater importance than the rate itself. So what we're doing is using short-term higher interest loans to eliminate long-term massive interest costs. Take a look at what this 9.6 month cycle is doing for Dan and Megan. I'm going to go ahead and throw their cash flow cruncher back up. Bear with me for a moment. All right, so you should be able to see that cash flow cruncher loan calculator page. You can see the $290,000 starting loan size at 5.2%, totaling $283 painful dollars in interest over that 360 months or 30 years. And what do we do? In that very first month, we gave $20,000 from a debt weapon. Now, before I tab this in, and I'm going to do it on payment number 3, just so you can see the leapfrog effect, let me point out everything that's wrong with the world. You see here that we're doing a 4-to-1 interest to principal ratio. Guys, I have people here who I have admired for 15 years, who have done nothing but succeed during that time, who consider this device the most insidious ever created by mankind. This is designed to confuse you. That is it. It is designed to extract your money. You walk around bragging about a 5% interest rate while the bank walks around bragging about the fact that it's charging you 4-to-1 interest. What did we do? We gave $20,000 from a tool that they never even owned before. And we get to do this every 10 months. Every 9.6 months, this $20,000 is paid back to zero, which means we can take another $20,000 10 months from now. But let's just apply one lump sum amount to show you the impact of this. $337, which normally increased by only about $1.47 in principal, has now leapfrogged Dan and Megan from $1.47 in principal contribution all the way to $426 from $337, about $90 in increase to principal contribution every month following. And look at this, even more importantly, this one move saved them almost $65,000 off the price tag of this home. One move. Guys, the best news is they get to do this every 10 months. They put another $20,000 in 10 months later. They put another $20,000 in 10 months after that. Payment number 23. This is only 2 years into this loan. And they're now 3 lump sums deep, saving them almost $150,000 off the price tag of this home. $150,000. Why in the world would you pay your loan the way the bank wants you to? Guess what? If you do, that's defined as fiscal responsibility. This is what's so backwards with our country, guys. So let's take a look at the end result that happens when they practice this all the way until this one house has been paid in full. Okay, let me get the PowerPoint back up here for you. Bear with me. All right, so you should see the PowerPoint again. Let me make sure. Okay, looks like it's working. This is the amortization schedule. This is what I was referring to as being so insidious, because this is interest and this is principal. Look at that. This is all interest, guys. And we're stuck in the all interest cycle. The first 3 to 7 years is where most of us are constantly staying. In the very first move, we gave $20,000, which leapfrogged them 4.5 years down the amortization schedule. We did it again, 11 months later, 10 months later. Boom. And we just keep doing this every 10 months and hack this amortization into itty bitty pieces and look at the net result of this action. $283,000 in interest now becomes only $63,901, saving over 220 grand. More importantly, they're going to avoid 264 payments on this loan. Guys, if this does not get you excited, if you're not scrambling to get on that free coaching scheduler to get your free coaching session, then you lead a much more exciting life than I do. Please have me over for dinner. We need to talk. Now, for those of you that this does excite, like myself, please visit freecoachingcalendar.com and schedule your free coaching session so we can show you how this applies to your individual circumstances. That is going to be how you benefit from this. But every household is completely different. So you have a financial fingerprint, and compared to everyone else that's joining us this evening, your circumstances will be unique. You have to understand the solutions and remain consistent with them. This does not work as magical pixie dust. It requires consistency, and we can help you understand what that's going to take. We've reviewed countless programs over the years, everything from free education like you're getting tonight through Laughlin and VIP financial education, all the way up to very expensive coaching and higher education programs. I've seen programs costing upwards of $50,000 these days. Before you do anything where you're going to spend any of that type of money, what you need to do is get your free coaching session. And there are a few deal breakers that are involved with your success. First of all, you have to have at least $500 average monthly positive cash flow, at least 500 in average positive cash flow. Action, consistency, courage, and patience are going to be required. If you lack on any of these, or you're unwilling to fight through the challenges of lacking on them, you won't succeed with this. As far as the provider, whether it be us or anyone else for that matter, I think you need to be looking at reputation first and foremost. Do your homework. Google search any company you're considering working alongside, including us. After you schedule your free coaching session, just Google search VIP financial education. Reputation is very important. Is it going to push you further than you can push yourself? This is another question and qualifier that you need to answer yes to in order to make any investment in any type of a solution as it pertains to real estate. Next, return on investment. Will the service or product that you're considering purchasing exceed your personal definition of value and a good ROI? Next, does the company refuse a sale? I'm seeing a trend in real estate where more and more companies, as long as you can fog a mirror, you will be qualified to pay them for what they sell. Now, VIP, on the other hand, operates in a completely opposite approach. We have far more demand for what we sell than we have supply. We choose not to grow. What that means is we're very selective about who we work with. So we end up disqualifying well over 60% of the people who we speak with. So be prepared for the possibility of being declined or disqualified, at least temporarily, until it's a better fit for you. And finally, how are you protected? In the event that you do everything you're supposed to do, does the service or product perform? And if it doesn't, what then? Are you entitled to some form of a refund? These are questions that I always need the answer to and require before I invest any money in real estate related solutions today. Now, when you schedule your free coaching session, you're going to get your cash flow cruncher. And for those of you that are good candidates for an ongoing relationship with VIP, you would then be entered into a 24-month accountability coaching mentorship with us. It's a membership, subscription-based membership. It's 2 years. But before you get too far ahead of yourself, this conversation and our next has nothing to do with that. Right now, what we have to do is select the right techniques for you. And what we do is we rely on the free tool that we're providing you when you schedule your session, the Cash Flow Cruncher, to accelerate your goals. We're going to review your wants and desired destinations and then reverse engineer to your current starting point, the action steps necessary to get you there. And finally, we're going to select the best techniques for you. And as long as you're disciplined and accountable, you can't fail with this. Now, I do want to reassure you that your privacy is a top priority for us. So you will not have to worry about providing us any account numbers or your social security numbers. We don't need any of that in order to show you just how powerful and meaningful this is going to be in your life. For those of you that end up in coaching with us, you are provided an unlimited number of coaching sessions during the 2 years you work with us. You are delegated a coach who provides you in 35 to 45-minute coaching sessions, a collection of homework assignments that you need to go complete. This is how to optimize your credit, where to go to get the right debt weapons, and how to put those to use properly so that you can safely benefit from them. And it can be very easy when it's broken into small little bite-sized pieces. Just got to eat the elephant one bite at a time. Now, for those of you who have less than perfect credit scores, this is something that we can help you with. And we do this for free. We donate this to our members, which is a $1,500 per person value that is just gifted to you. So don't worry about your imperfect credit if that's what's holding you up. So if you would rather fast track, this is the price tag, provided that you end up being qualified. It's $289 per month. As I'd mentioned before, it's unlimited phone coaching sessions. And this cost is tax deductible to business owners. Talk to your tax professional once you get started. We've never had one disagree with that. Furthermore, rebates and discounts may apply depending on the relationship. I will tell you that we have a very special preferential partnership with Laughlin Associates, and therefore you will be entitled to one of the largest discounts that we currently provide, if not the largest. And we'll talk about that if we end up coming to that bridge. We don't have to worry about crossing it if you're not qualified. Finally, we do provide a refund guarantee. As I mentioned to you just moments ago, I choose not to work with companies that are unwilling to put their money where their mouths are. VIP has always done that, where if for whatever reason we're unable to fulfill to your satisfaction, we take on the burden of the risk. Finally, for business owners, you also are entitled to free marketing if you end up as a coaching member, which means that we'll do professionally produced videos, we'll do logo and business card design, we'll do professionally designed brochures, and we'll also help with social media assistance where we can supercharge your social media online brand, should that be valuable to you. So this is all included as part of the price tag. For $289 a month, guys, this is a ridiculous amount of value. You have to look at this like any other business owner and consider it like hiring an employee. Would you hire an employee for $289 a month? You bet you would, or you don't have a serious business. So look at us like the specialist that's there to help optimize your finances. And as long as the ROI is there, it's a great investment. If the ROI isn't there, you aren't qualified. All right, guys. So this is going to be the only chance you get to get a free session with me. Hopefully you've already been on freecoachingcalendar.com. If you have been, you've scheduled your free coaching session and you've automatically gotten your cash flow cruncher emailed to you through the confirmation email. So make sure that you check your inbox for that. Here again is the website. This is going to be your only chance, guys. By the end of this week, we will be cutting off registrations for the year. So you've got to get in by the end of this week. Call 866-969-2738 if you have any trouble getting on the calendar, and we'll call you back and assist you with that. freecoachingcalendar.com is the magic URL to get you guys into a much improved financial position. If you have yet to have your cash flow analyzed by an expert, then what are you waiting for? Now's the time. Guys, I've really appreciated your attention and time here this evening. Thank you so much. Please don't hesitate to share this information with your friends and family, as together we can actually stand a fighting chance against the banks and an economy that we have no control over. Thank you again so much. We're looking forward to speaking with you during your free coaching session. Until then, make it a great night.